Good morning, everybody. Here we are ready for our Wednesday maths lesson. So we're going to start with our Fab 4. Now, today we're going to convert these fractions into decimals. Now, my top tip for this one is that the first two, I recommend you try and convert them over into hundredths first and then put them into a decimal. And the bottom two, I think you should use the division where you divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, bit harder, but see how you get on. Pause the video and come back and I'll give you the answers. Okay, so here we go. Question number 1, 3/25 is the same as 0.12. Sorry, because the equivalent fraction in hundredths was 12 100ths, which therefore gave us the answer of 0.12. 3/50ths, we have to double them both, so that becomes 0.06 because it's becoming then hundredths. 6/9 becomes, this is a hard one, we had to do 6 divided by 9 and we had lots of recurring 6s. Now you could then write it as 0.67 because we rounded the hundredths up because it was greater than 5. Similarly, for 5/12, they had 0.41 with lots of 6. So we've rounded up our hundredths column to a 2 because again our thousands were greater than 5. So what are we doing today? We're going to be multiplying one-digit numbers up to 2 decimal places by an integer. So we're going to find the product for our Wilf and we're going to use known facts to multiply. This is the really important thing for today's work. Now here we've got 2 children in the shop and they're looking at buying some cans of soda. Now 1 can of soda holds 0.3 litres of drink. Now part A says, what is the total volume of 3 drinks cans? So how would I multiply 0.3 by 3? Now there's different methods that you could use to do this. So I'd like you to pause the video, work it out, then look at the answers and then look at the alternative methods because you'll be doing some work like this in your books today. Okay, so which method did you use? I've chosen probably the most common 2. Now, the first one is to use known facts. I use this method. So I would think, well, I know that 3 times 3 is 9. So if I'm now timesing by 0.3, that's 10 times smaller, isn't it? So my answer must be 0.9. Now, some of you might use addition, and you can use a number line, or you might have used a column, and each time you've added 0.3. So you've started at 0, get to 0.3, add another 0.3, which takes us to 0.6, and then finally to 0.9. Both answers are correct because the total volume of the 3 drinks cans is 0.9 litres. Let's give you a little practice before we move on. So, using that thought of our known facts, how would I calculate 2.04? Think of the known fact that would be helpful here. The known fact will be 2.2 times 4 is 8. How would that have to be adjusted to calculate that question? Have a go, write your answer down. And here we go. So 2 times 0.4 is 0.8 because, of course, 0.4 is 10 times smaller than 4 in our known fact. What about this one? 3 times 0.4. Now, our known fact here would be 3 times 4 is 12. Some people get a bit confused as soon as it's a 2-digit number, but use the same knowledge. 4 is 10 times larger, than 0.4. So that means if we're timesing by 0.4, our answer's got to be 10 times smaller. So it would become 1.2. Hope that's okay. If you need to have a practice at some more, maybe jot some more down for yourself and see if you can figure out where those known facts can come in useful. All right, now our think together for part B is now looking at how much it costs for 30 lots of the fizzy drinks cans. Now, again, there's different ways of looking at this. I've done it in the way like this, where I've thought, right, rather than just multiplying by 30, I've thought of my factor pairs that make 30, and I know that 10 times 3 gives me 30. So I've sort of broken it down into 2 steps. So I thought, well, first of all, I'm going to multiply 0.3 by 10, which gives me 3. So 10 cans would be 3 litres. Now, I've got 3 groups of 10 cans because I've got 30. So I have to multiply my 3 litres by 3, which would give me 9 litres. So the total volume for 30 cans would be 9 litres. So 30 multiplied by 0.3 gives me 9 litres in total. A little bit more confusing with the steps there, but essentially you can use your known facts to help you with 3 times 3 being 9, and you can adjust with the different methods. Now this I thought was a little confusing when I first saw it, and it says write and complete a multiplication for each of these models. Now the way some of these, I think it starts you off in the book today with this. Now what I want you to think about it is each like that as a set. So there you've got 3/10, haven't you? Now how many sets of 3/10 are there? You've got 2 lots, haven't you? So that means the calculation is 0.3 multiplied by 2 because you've got 2 rows of them, and our answer would be 0.6. Here's another example. This time we've got, I'm just going to get my pen, so I don't think I've done a little box for this one, and I can draw around. So it's like here again, this is our one group that we've got to start with. Now this time we're in our hundredths, so we've got 0.03 multiplied 3 times, so it's times by 3. So there's our question from this diagram, and our answer would be 0.09. So your work in your Power Maths book starts off with this kind of thing today, so make sure that you're happy with what this is showing you. Okay, so let's have a look at this different method to try and generate a multiplication calculation. So we've got here 0.2 added 4 times. Now repeated addition can also be written as a multiplication. And all you have to think is, what number am I starting with? Starting with 0.2. How many sets are there? There's 4 sets. Therefore, I've got to multiply by 4. So 0.2 times by 4 would give us an answer of 0.8. And here's another one. This time we've got 1.2. And again, there are 4 sets of 1.2 being added. So our calculation must be 1.2 times by 4. Now let's think of our known fact. That would be 12 times 4, which is 48. We're going to adjust by dividing our answer by 10. So we would get a final answer of 4.8. Okay, hope that all makes sense. Okay, so our second thing together today is going to be predicting which multiplication will give the greatest and the smallest products. Now, what is a product? A product is basically the answer to a multiplication question. So in order to decide which one gives the smallest product, we've got to complete each of these multiplications. Now, you've got to be careful because some of the decimals are tenths and some are hundredths, so you've got to be careful not to be tricked by this. So my first one I'm going to look at is 12 times 0.3. Now, my known fact I'm going to use is 12 times 3 being 36. Now, because I'm multiplying by 0.3, it's got to get 10 times smaller. So 12 times 0.3 is going to be 3.6. Now, I think it would be a good idea for you to pause the video here and have a go at working out the next two, but take care because it's 0.02, which means it's going to be 100 times smaller than 2. So here's your known fact, 2 times 32 is 64. But now what are you going to do to 64 to enable to ensure that your answer has actually been multiplied by 0.02? Have a go, pause the video and then come back. All right, so here we are. To make sure it's divided by 100, we've got to do either 1 or 2 steps, depending how you do it. I've done it in 2 steps so that you can see. Now, first of all, if it was 0.2 times 32, the answer would be 6.4, because that's 10 times smaller. But this time we're doing 0.02 times 32. So actually, being in the hundredths column, it's 100 times smaller. So our answer this time is 0.64. So you've got to be really careful with those ones because you've got to make sure that you are dividing your answer by the right number. Okay, so let's have a look at 21 times 0.04. And known fact, 21 times 4 was 84. Now, again, like the previous one, if it was times 0.4, that would change to 8.4. But because we're timesing by 0.04, our final answer is 0.84. Now, so which is the smallest product here? The smallest answer? Well, our smallest answer is this one here, isn't it? 0.64, because it's got the least amount in the tenths column, and it has no ones. So our largest is 3.6 because that's got 3 ones. Instantly, it's bigger than the other two because they have a 0 in the ones column. So it would go 0.64, 0.84, and then 3.6 would be our largest product. Okay, so today, have a go at pages 21 to 23, multiplying your decimals. I'm going to move my head in case anyone wants to pause on that challenge. See how you get on. I think hopefully it should be a lot more straightforward than the work yesterday. That was super tricky. So as always, give me a message if you get stuck or have any questions. Have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.